All right, here we go. Welcome to my very first Periscope presentation. So thank you for joining me, for those of you who are joining me live, and thanks for tuning in for anybody who's tuning in after the fact. So have you ever wondered how it is that a professional dog trainer can take the leash out of your dog, out of your hand, take your dog, and within seconds, really, but it seems within seconds or minutes, they've got that dog's undivided attention. The dog is doing everything that they asked as though they were already well trained, and it just leaves you scratching your head like, what the heck? That doesn't happen for me. So today I'm going to give you the 4 top reasons that pros excel at what they do. The reason we're good at what we do. So the first thing to being an excellent dog trainer is having impeccable timing. So that means that if I'm wanting to teach my dog how to sit, for example, this is my dog, here's the ground. As soon as my dog's bum touches the ground, that's when I'm going to be giving him feedback. That's when I'm going to say, yes, that, good job, do that again. If I'm a second later or 5 seconds later, my dog his brain could be moving on to something else, his body could be moving on to something else. And at that point, it's too late. By the time I get him the reward, I could be rewarding him for standing up, or for looking to the left, or for sniffing the ground. So it's really important to be focused on practicing timing so that you can time your reinforcement for the moment the behavior you want to teach your dog happens. Secondary to that, to having good timing, is to be watching for the behavior you want to reward. So it's really important if you're looking for, maybe you have a dog who jumps on people when they come to the door, you want to be, instead of focusing on the jumping up, you want to be paying attention to when all 4 feet touch the floor so that you can reward them in that moment. We have a tendency, though, to focus on all the things we don't want, and all those moments where the dog's doing the right thing go past by unnoticed. So you're going to work on your timing to practice reinforcing your dog the second you see the behavior you want happen. And at the same time, training your eye to notice it. Now, a little exercise you can do to practice is you can take a simple tennis ball, and I want you to see if you can say the word yes the moment the tennis ball touches the palm of my hand. And this is a short drop, so you're not going to have a lot of time here, but it's going to look like this. Yes. 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 So you want to practice, see if you can get your word out for the moment the tennis ball touches my hand, or the palm of my hand. You can practice this by having a secondary person taking the tennis ball and bouncing it on the ground. And every time it bounces on the ground is when you're going to say yes. Or, even better, practice with your dog handy, so you get yourself some treats. Have your dog sitting in front of you, maybe you put them on leash to start with. Have your friend bounce the tennis ball, and every time the tennis ball hits the ground, you feed your dog. And the goal is the food gets into your dog's mouth within about 1 second of the ball hitting the ground. So practice your timing. The second component, the second key characteristic of really effective dog trainers is frequency of feedback. That means they're constantly giving their dogs good information or feedback about behaviors that they like or perhaps don't like, depending on what method they train. And let me tell you, these 2 things, timing and frequency of feedback, doesn't matter what training method you use, every successful dog trainer has these 2 things for sure in common. So that means within a 3-minute training session, I want to be giving my dog at least 40 or 50 pieces of feedback in that period of time. And you might be like, holy cow, really? I mean, I give my dog 1 cookie every 5 hours. And well, that might be part of why you're having an issue if you're not giving your dog enough feedback about the behavior that you're trying to train. So my suggestion is to keep your training session short, 3 to 5 minutes at most, and within that period of time, see how many bits of feedback you can give them, and think of your feedback as every time basically you give your dog a cookie, for example, you're saying to your dog, do that again, do that again, do that again. And the more times you say, do that again, your dog's going to be able to say, oh, I get it. It's this behavior that you want. This is what you want me to do. So it makes it much, much easier and quicker for your dog to figure out what you're asking them to do, the more feedback you give them for doing it. Make sense, hopefully? Now the next key component is the value of the rewards. So the majority of dog trainers nowadays use reinforcement, or positive reinforcement, as part of their training program. I'm certainly one of those trainers. The challenge, though, is picking reward. Well, it's not really a challenge. It's a key component to the program, though, is picking rewards that your dog actually likes. Now, here's the thing. You don't get to decide what's a valuable reward. Your dog has to tell you what's valuable to them. So if you're one of those people who says, well, I just want to pet him on the head and tell him he's a good dog, and that should be enough, answer me this. If you went to work and you were going to work, you were getting paid, and you went to work one day and your boss said, you're doing a good job, you know your job, I'm not going to pay you anymore, you should just do it. Just show up and do your job, and I'm just going to high five you every time you do a good job. So every time you get me a report, I'll just give you a high five. Would that be a valuable enough reward for you to keep going to work for? The answer for most people, of course, is no. Our dogs, of course, ultimately start to do these things habitually. That's what training is about, is creating good habits. So lucky for us, we can phase out the use of food, or primarily food, but there has to be reinforcement of value to your dog in order for them to want to keep working with you in the first place. So but until we can get to that point where we can take the food out of the picture, or we can take the toy out of the picture as a reward, we need to reward with valuable commodities to the dog. Rewards don't have to be food. Certainly food is an easy, direct form of reinforcement. Rewards can also be your dog's favorite toy. Maybe your dog loves to play ball, or maybe your dog loves to play tug, or maybe your dog likes to chase you or wrestle with you. Those are all great rewards. And there's other types of rewards as well we won't get into, but those are the two most direct ones you can use to create value value to your dog, for doing the commands you're teaching them to do. And just a little caveat about food rewards. Even different food rewards have different value to your dogs, or will have different value. So that means that if you kibble, for the most part, is worth a penny for most dogs. And if you think about it, it's something you give them for free in their dish twice a day. They don't have to work for it. No matter what, they just show up, they just wake up in the morning and exist all day, and you're going to give them a big bowl of it at the end of the day, regardless of how they behave. And I'll tell you, most dogs won't work that hard for kibble when there's something better going on. And by better, I mean there's a squirrel, or their best friend, the dog from next door, is out and they want to play with that dog. So food will have different, we'll say, monetary values to the dog. So, kibble might be worth a penny or a dime, or maybe $1. It depends on your dog. Like I said, your dog gets to dictate what's valuable. And then there might be milk bones, and maybe that's worth, 20 cents to your dog. And then there's things like wieners and cheese and rollover, dog food roll, or fried liver, or dehydrated tripe. All those things tend to be much higher on the value scale. And you'll know it's valuable to your dog because your dog's going to go, oh, when they get it. You'll see them light up. That when you give them the kibble, they'll go, oh, thanks, whatever, goodbye. But when you give them the liver, they're going to be like, what is that? Their little nose is going to beeline in on it. Their eyes are going to perk up. They might start wagging their tail. They might even take it from you really quickly out of excitement, or like, oh my God, what is this? I don't want to lose it. So those are the types of treats you want to work with when you're out and about, particularly in an environment like a field with bunnies in it, if you have a dog with high prey drive, for example. So the final thing that all the successful dog trainers that I know of have in common are that they are engaging and fun. So training can, depending on who you're learning from, or where you are, I guess, it can be tedious, it can be boring, but it doesn't have to be. So it is what you make it. So if I'm working with my dogs, my goal is, how can we have a good time doing this? Because if you're having a good time and I'm having a good time, we're more likely to do it again, and we're more likely to be successful working together than if it's drudgery for both of us. So, good dog trainers have a way of, even if it's through silly facial expressions or goofy tones of voices, or you'll often see me, wagging my tail when I'm working with a dog. I'll be, mirroring their body language and being silly, or I'll play tag with them. I'll poke them and run and have them chase me. So there's lots of different ways that I can keep the training engaging and fun. Using toys is another avenue there. The side benefit of being an engaging trainer for your dog is that, especially if you're using toys, those things are rewards. That is rewarding, and most dogs tend to want to work for that, especially if it's fun for the dog. So they're creatures of they're creatures of what can I get out of this? Just like we are. We're always like, what's in it for me? Is it worth it for me to do that or not? Dogs are doing the same cost-benefit analysis constantly. Is it worth it for me to come to you, or is it more worth it for me to stay in and play with my buddy over here, running freely in the dog park? Is it more worth it for me to stay when you open the front door, or is it more worth it for me to run out the front door and chase the neighbor's cat? So your dog's always doing sort of a cost-benefit analysis. So the more you can be the most interesting thing in your environment, the less your dog's going to be fixated on the environment. Now that ties in all those 4 key components together nicely, because when you're engaging and fun, you are more rewarding to your dog. When you're more rewarding to your dog, you increase the value of any rewards that you use with your dog. And the more engaging and fun you are, the more likely you are to have good behavior that you can give feedback to, which gives a higher frequency of feedback. And then finally, that gives all that opportunity for feedback, gives you the opportunity to practice your timing, so that you can start looking for all those good behaviors that your dog is already giving you, already providing you on a day-to-day basis, and then you can give them feedback for them. And the more feedback you give them, the more likely you are to get the behavior again. So, make sense? So four main things: excellent timing, frequency of feedback, valuable rewards, rewards that your dog dictates have value to them, and being engaging and fun. So that's it. So enjoy having some fun with your dogs, experiment, play around with them, let me know how it goes, and you can find me on Facebook. My company name is Communicanine, and that's spelled out first half of the word communication and the word canine spelt in full, without any space in between, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Take care.